Okay. Um, Last concept of this lesson is called the discriminant. Okay, the discriminant's actually really cool because it can give us a lot of information without us having to do much work. So I'm going to remind you of the quadratic formula. You can sing the song if you want to. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, now the discriminant is neat because it's going to help tell us the number of solutions, okay? The number of solutions in a quadratic. So let's think about what that means. So the possible solutions we can have are if we have a parabola that goes like this, we would have two roots or two solutions, okay? Two solutions. If we have a parabola that looks like this, it falls right on the x-axis. The vertex, I mean, falls right on the x-axis. That has one solution, which would happen to be the vertex. One solution. Okay, we can also have, if our parabola starts above the x-axis and is facing upwards, and you guys know there's multiple variations of this. I'm just doing the most basic example. This would have no solution because it never crosses the x-axis. So you could have none or no solution, zero solutions, however you want to say that. Whoopsies. Solution. Two solutions, one solution, or no solutions. Those are our options. Now, let's think about this. When we use the quadratic formula up here, when we use this quadratic formula, if we got two solutions, that's because we had to break up our answer with the plus and the minus. So we would do our square root here, and we would get that the answer could be, if we got the square root of 16, it could be plus 4, it could be positive 4, or it can be negative 4. Okay? Now, that happens when this part of our equation, the b squared minus 4ac, is greater than 0. If that's a positive number, like 16, 25, even 28, that's not a perfect square, you would still get a positive and a negative value. But what would happen if instead, inside this square root, you had 0? Inside the square root, you had 0. So you had negative b plus or minus the square root of 0 over 2a. Well, the square root of 0 is just 0. You don't even need the plus or the minus. So you're not going to even break up this equation. You would have negative b over 2a. That's funny. That looks kind of familiar, doesn't it? So then that would only give you one solution. If everything under that radical is equal to 0, b squared minus 4ac equals 0, then we only have one solution. So what would make this have no solutions? If we have a b squared minus 4ac, and that is equal to, b squared minus 4ac. If that's equal to 0, it'll give us only one solution. What's going to happen if it's less than 0? If we have a negative number in that square root, if we had negative 16, let's say, see, negative 16, what did we say we had to do in this case? We said we couldn't do anything. This is just not possible. We can't have something times itself to equal a negative value. So then that, if it's less than 0, would be no solution. So the discriminant is that inside of the radical b squared minus 4ac, and it tells us right here, it'll tell us how many solutions it has. So if it's a positive number, that discriminant is positive, you'll have two solutions. If it's equal to 0, there'll only be one solution, and if it's negative, it's not possible, you'll have no solutions. So let's look at a couple examples of that, and then I'll send you guys on your way. So we have 6x squared minus 5x minus 7 equals 0. Just like with the quadratic formula, we want to identify that a is 6, b is negative 5, and c is negative 7. Now the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. It's just the inside part of the radical, or the radicand. So we just substitute those values in. Negative 5 squared minus 4 times a is 6 and c is negative 7. When we calculate that, negative 5 squared is 25 minus 4 times 6 is 24 times 7 is 168. So that would be a negative 168. And do add a line, change the sign, and that would result in a positive value of 193. Since 193 is greater than 0, it's a positive number, that means that this quadratic right here is going to have two solutions. Now, I don't know what those two solutions are. That's not what the discriminant tells me. It just tells me that I do have two solutions. So now I can make my way towards solving them if I really wanted to. Okay? Okay, here's another one. 2x squared minus 3x plus 5 is equal to 0. All right, we would say that a is equal to 2, b is equal to negative 3, and c is equal to 5. You would substitute those values into the discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac. Okay, if you feel comfortable doing this, go ahead and pause the video and try it on your own. All right, let's see how we did. So b is negative 3 squared minus 4 times 2 times 5. Negative 3 squared is 9. 4 times 2 is 8. Times 5 is 40. So we would get 9 minus 40. Well, that's going to be a negative 31. Okay. Um, okay. Now from there, we would solve and we would get that this is less than 0, or it's a negative number, which means it has no solution. Okay. Last one. Thinking ahead a little bit. Last one, we have a 9x squared minus 42x plus 49 equals 0. These numbers are a little bigger, but that's okay. It's not going to change anything. So we're going to substitute for a, we're going to substitute 9, b is going to be negative 42, and c is going to equal 49. And we're going to do b squared minus 4ac. Again, if you'll feel confident and ready, go ahead and solve that on your own. All right, let's see how we did. So negative 42 squared minus 4 times a is 9 times c is 49. Now 42 squared is going to be 1,764 minus, okay, 4 times 9 is 36. So I have to do 36 times 49, and that's going to be 1,764. Well, that means inside of my radical, I'm going to have a 0. I can't have plus or minus 0. It's just going to be 0. So then I'll be left with just one solution. Okay. Now, your homework tonight is actually not going to be due until, let's see, you're getting this video on Tuesday. Instead of being due Wednesday morning, it's going to be due on Thursday morning. That means this homework's a little bit longer. You can choose to do some of it today, some of it tomorrow, however you want to spread it out. But just know that it's a little bit longer, okay? So it's going to be on page 586. You're going to do numbers 9 through 21 odd, but you're going to skip number 13 because that's what you did yesterday. All right? On number 17, oopsies, you're going to give both the exact and approximate answers. All right, then you're also going to do numbers 22, 29 through 34, numbers 41 and 42. I'm going to highlight number 41, because that is a tricky one. It's a little time consuming. I recommend if you're going to save your homework for tomorrow, I think you should at least read number 41 just so you can start thinking about it. Keep it in the back of your mind. Start thinking about it so that when you approach it tomorrow, you'll have already maybe made some thoughts about it. Okay, but it is tricky and it is going to take a little bit of time. You just kind of have to persevere and problem solve through that one. Okay, good luck.